mute and your videos off. Also note that we would be recording this session. I am Anjali Patil, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the second webinar of the series, Development Sector's Response to COVID-19, Gaps, Learning and Way Forward, hosted by third sector partners in collaboration with our partner organizations, GoBev, a membership-based interactive web portal dedicated for the social sector, and Catalyst, a social initiative which prepares young women pursuing professional education for leadership roles, thereby creating a wider talent pool for India Inc. and helping bridge the gender divide. Today, in our second webinar, we aim to find new ways of building a workplace that would create sustainability for organizations and their people. We have with us eminent leaders from the development sector to discuss how we can redefine talent needs and people processes in the new normal. Over the next 50 minutes, we will have a discussion with our esteemed panelist, who I will introduce shortly. We have reserved the last 20 minutes to address questions from the audience. Please direct all your questions to the chat box. You may specify the name of the panel member to whom you wish to address the question. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you all to our panel members. We are privileged to have with us today Dr. Rajiv Ranjan from Rotary International South Asia Office. He has rich and varied management experience of over 32 years across corporate and NGO sectors, primarily in human resource management. He has worked with renowned organizations like Care India, SOS Children's Village, Room to Read, and Reliance Foundation in HR roles. In 2015, Dr. Rajiv joined back Rotary International as Regional Head South Asia, where he also serves as Director of the company. We welcome you, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan. Our second panelist for the day is Purnima Garg. She has diverse experience in leadership for more than 18 years in both non-profit and for-profit sector, primarily into education domain. She is currently the Deputy Country Director at Room to Read India, working in the areas of early grade literacy, gender equality, and girls' education. Prior to this, Purnima was the HR Director overseeing Room to Read India's Human Resource Development Department with staff across 10 locations. In 2019, she has been awarded with the title of the Phenomenal She by Indian National Bar Association for the contribution made in advocating to establish ICC in the organization under the POSH Act. We welcome Purnima Garg. And our next panelist for the day is Vijay Nogin, Director Human Resources, India and Sri Lanka with Child Fund International. Vijay has more than 2 decades of progressive and diverse work experience spanning from HR, OD, governance development, human rights programming, information and technological advancement, and general administration in the local, national, and global working environment. As a member of senior leadership team, he has been leading and contributing to a wide range of people management and development initiative in various organizations. Our fourth panelist for the day is Pooja Mathur, who leads the HR, OD, and operations portfolio at Plan International India chapter. She has over 19 years of experience in corporates like Honda, Styria, and Motherson Sumi, and within the social sector with organizations like Save the Children and Plan International India. She has worked extensively during her career on change management, leadership and organizational development, and talent engagement, both in India and overseas. Last but not the least, we have with us Jyoti Puri, Director Human Resources at iPass Development Foundation. She has over 19 years of extensive experience and has worked with multiple international development organizations in the Asia region. She has contributed by defining and implementing various processes, including recruitment, contract management, performance management, and training and development. Prior to joining IDF, she worked with WHO, CIMMYT, Dan Church Aid, and American Red Cross. I sincerely thank you, panel members, for accepting our invitation. To begin with, we all know that the pandemic brought forth an unprecedented human crisis in terms of life and livelihood. Human resource management came under the spotlight as leaders strive to ensure productivity and continuity within the workforce. In this scenario, every organization had to relook at their strategy. And that brings to my first question addressed to Dr. Rajiv. So, Dr. Rajiv, how have HR priorities evolved since the pandemic? And at what stage did the HR function get involved to manage the crisis?
Thank you very much, Anjali, and very warm, good afternoon to all the participants and the August gathering. Uh, Let me answer your second question first, that at what stage the HR function got involved. I would say from the beginning itself. In terms of evolution of HR priorities during this pandemic, I would like to divide that into three categories. First is what were the immediate priorities. Second is what were the midterm or operational priorities. And third is the long-term priorities. Talking about the immediate priorities, as soon as the pandemic broke and all of us were, forced into some kind of a work from home or, offsite kind of working scenario, the first priority was how to, make sure that, our operations are kept running from offsite, from homes. So first thing we did was to divert our phones to the respective mobile numbers of the staff members. That stage, the question was that what resources or equipment is needed by staff to work from home? What about the net connectivity at home? Does everyone have it? We didn't have these answers immediately. And then familiarization of the staff to this new work from home kind of an environment. These were some of the immediate priorities. In terms of medium term or operational priorities, as they evolved, the first thing which came to our mind was that how to maintain our teamwork or how to keep our organization culture alive while people are away from each other. So we deliberated that, and we arrived at a conclusion that in some ways or the other we need to interact with each other. We need to be in touch on a day-to-day basis. So we decided that we will have some sort of a daily check-in at 9 a.m. And at that stage, we said that, okay, we do have a flexi time policy, but for this time, everyone will check in with their direct reporting managers at 9 o'clock. We are having daily senior management team meeting wherein all the team heads, they meet together for 1 to 2 hours on a video call. After that, we have daily team meetings, which is something like a 1 hour video call for each of the team heads to meet with their team members. Then there's a daily report of activities at the end of the day, which is nothing much but just 5 to 6 bullet points, so that it does not really strain people. It does not become burdensome, but at the same time, we have some record of what has been done for the day. Then we have the monthly all staff meeting. We carried on using the video conferencing facility. Now, in this scenario, people can tend to get very bored and very withdrawn from work. So we thought of having some fun activities as well. So we decided an activity which was organized by our staff society, which was known as Chai Pe Charcha. Just like that, without any agenda, we meet together, have our own cups of tea in our hands, and then just gossip around. This was the kind of thing which was a sort of a stress buster. Organization-wide, there was a Facebook page created for the entire worldwide staff, and we were posting different things, introducing, our home office mates. For example, it could be a pet, it could be your family member, could be a toddler. So just, keep the things alive. Those were introduced on the Facebook page. Same way, we are going to have our annual recognition event, which is generally a big function, big gathering, and with all kinds of dinner and everything. Unfortunately, we can't get together because of social distancing. So we are, per force, we have to hold that event online. So we're going to have this event just tomorrow, or not tomorrow, it's 25th of this month, Saturday. And in terms of medium term priorities, we also looked at the HR operational matters that, we reviewed the job descriptions and we tried to reorganize the work. Especially challenge was how to engage staff in admin and similar functions apparently having left with no work sitting at home, and how to keep the normal office operations running when the premises are closed, because lots of things happen, a lot of couriers coming in, a lot of maybe visitors coming in from different places, and phone calls obviously we took care of, but then how to make sure that we don't miss out on things which are not happening because of office being closed. Last but not the least in this category is customer service. We deal with almost 178,000 Rotarians across South Asia, and many of them are located in Delhi as well. So they just drop in. They send us their queries on email. They need guidance on phone and things like that. So this was another challenge, that how do we keep our customer service at the highest level, and how to give prompt response to our constituents. One more important point I would like to put from my side is that in this kind of an extraordinary situation or circumstances, first thing that comes to mind is that we should be humane with people, because they are working under very exceptional circumstances. And what would that mean in terms of implementation is that staff with young kids, elder parents, and people in exigencies be allowed short leave when they need it. We need to have flexibility with dress code. You don't expect people to be sitting there, coats and ties, sitting at home. So they can be in free dress. And we should be tolerant to the ambient noise, which is due to the presence of other family members who are near about you. So don't be flustered by the fact that, look, I can't hear you because there's somebody talking. You have to be tolerant to that. You have to be also flexible when staff appear in the video call with their kids or with their pets. We would rather encourage that, okay, please bring the child in front of you so that the child can also enjoy a little bit. And the next thing was that staff could certainly avail leave as in the normal situation. Last but not the least in this category is monitoring the state of health of the staff. Though keeping it confidential, we need to be sure that people are not getting impacted by COVID, and what is the state of their health, and if somebody suffers from COVID, in what manner we as staff can provide assistance to that person, even if it is a moral support, just giving a call and finding out how the things are. But at the same time keeping it confidential, because there's a privacy issue, so we don't want this information to float around unless the staff himself wants. Last but not the least is the long-term priorities. So we thought in terms of developing protocols for possible return to the office in the near future. We developed standard operating procedures and manuals that in the event we go back to the office, what do we need to follow, what kind of safety, what kind of health norms to be followed. Everybody knows about it, so no elaboration on that. And second part was leveraging technology. When we go back to the office, what do we do? How do we leverage the technology, which we have now experienced more than ever? Then what about the changes in HR policies now and upon return to the office? This is another food for thought for us for long term. And how do we manage this kind of crisis better in the future, having experienced all this? And I'm sure that this is one question which will be taken up later by another panelist, so I'm not elaborating it further. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much, and over to you, Anjali.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajiv. In fact, some of those points we've gone through ourselves. And since you talked about technology, we know some of the organizations have been trying to digitally transform their processes since a long time. And this is one thing that COVID has done right. It has accelerated digital transformation for organizations. I'm sure the audience would also like to know what are some of the new technological innovations that Pooja, you have adopted with Plan International.
Thank you so much, Anjali, and thanks for the opportunity to answer this question. I think, digitally fit is no longer a luxury, which was pre-COVID times. People used to think, those who have extra money, those organizations can afford to be digitally, ahead of the others. And the sector was lagging behind to some extent in comparison to the corporate world. But I think COVID has, it's pivotally changed the way that we work, and completely, I would say it has been a earth-shaking kind of a change that we've seen. I think all of us are now witness to this. Possibly, this has never happened in the past, at least in our times. But what we have seen as part of plan is that, we have, I think the COVID thing started sometime in February, and we saw the early signs. And some of the things that occurred to us at that point in time was that the first thing is, how do we ensure that there is very clear lines of communication with our staff members, and ensuring that people feel connected to each other in spite of whatever is happening. So that was our first step in terms of ensuring that people are able to learn the new ways of communicating. So ensuring they had access to Skype, Teams, and other such platforms. And they knew how to be on those platforms to be able to really communicate well and effectively. And I think that was the first step we did. We did extensive trainings on these platforms. We ensured everybody was equipped with these platforms on their computers, as well as the fact that ensuring that these people were able to online go and mark their attendance. So we have a brilliant team of IT with us who were able to develop certain tools in-house, and we've been able to really manage our attendance and other things quite seamlessly internally. And the fact is that having an in-house tool also helps you keep on evolving and adding up new features, which we've done. So this has been extended for our field teams as well, which means that our communities are now just an SMS away, through that tool, which means our girls who are the change makers in our communities, and they have phones in their households. They are regular recipients of awareness messaging, a lot of motivational messaging that we continuously do to them, so that they feel a part of our family as much as our staff members are feeling. I think digital has helped change to a very large extent the way that all of us relate to each other. I think Dr. Rajiv very nicely projected the fact that, family and the environment around us is very different. So earlier we were all sitting in the same office space with same kind of environment, desk, chairs, everything. But with COVID, of course, you see disparity in the way some people are a little more privileged, some people have a little less. And how do you ensure that people still feel they're part of the same setup? And, I think the motivation aspect of it is something that we have tried to address through our virtual town halls. We've done a lot of motivational sessions through them. We've done on mental well-being. I think Digital Connect has helped us, really bridge the gap which has occurred because of this unfortunate circumstance. And I'd just like to bring one aspect in. I think it's not just about laptops or computers at home. It's also about the fact that a lot of your admin people or assistants or drivers or people in the field may just have a phone. They may not have a laptop available with them. So how do you ensure that the technology is still helping them be a part of the organization and continue to input into the change? So I think apps have been really particularly good for us, and what we've done is that we've had people even create birthday videos, for each other, and teams having those really very cool sessions to ensure that people feel special, even in the times where you're so stressed out. I think digital, technology has really helped us with keeping the staff morale up, and all of us feel very connected because of that. So I hope I've answered some of your question.
Yes, great. In fact, it's very interesting to make sure that everybody in the organization is a part of organization, even if they're working remotely. And I shall get back to that question sometime later. But moving forward, Purnima, my next question is to you. Mm-hmm. At Room to Read, how have your hiring strategies been impacted due to this situation? And during this phase, has there been a shift in recruitment process, manpower planning, or even budgeting?
Um, hi everyone. So I guess the impact of COVID-19 has hit business in multiple ways, and recruitment is no exception. In early April, we were very conservative while we were looking at hiring new positions, given there was so much of uncertainty around the lockdown, fundraising challenges were there. But by the end of the month, we kind of realized that hiring is so important than ever, because we had to adapt to the changing needs of the sector, of the education sector. So I would say that we did change our hiring strategy. We kind of were more open to hire remote resources, which we were not earlier. So that kind of really was a positive shift for us. At the same point in time, yes, the budgets did get a hit in terms of since the fundraising teams were not sure the kind of money they will be able to raise during the year, given the funds were being globally allocated to healthcare than any other sector. So from that perspective, yes, there were hits around the budget, but at the same point in time, manpower planning kind of really took a front seat from a perspective of evolving jobs, relooking at the organization structure, the need of the hour, and really redesigning the job responsibilities. And that led us to really, skilling, reskilling, and upskilling people. So I would say that kind of really served the whole scenario for us, and we just continue to do the business because of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Purnima, for those insights. And since we are talking about hiring, Vijay, we know Child Fund was one of the organizations that has been hiring during the lockdown as well. So how have you managed the orientation for new joinees and help them to adapt to your organization?
Thank you, Anjali. So hiring, but yeah, not really many, as all of us know, where the kind of space that we are in. But we did, and we've been hiring quite a few field level project positions. It's really been tough. So let's look at even onboarding. How do we ensure? So firstly, even aligning with the local guidelines. So every state, every city, every particular district has their set of guidelines in terms of going out, not joining at this moment, not even allowing the movements. How do we bring the person from the other district or the state? I think that's been a challenge, but in many places we've been able to manage when the situation opened a bit. And in terms of bringing people on board, we do have our digital modules for orienting people about the organization, about the role that we are hiring, where the placement would be, what the area is all about, what the project is all about. But more importantly, we also make sure that the interaction happens with the various verticals in the organization. So you get to understand, and that obviously is happening mostly through the online channels now. And as one of our earlier panelists was alluding to, the technology has really facilitated many of our reach in the field locations. It is also, while it is one part is in terms of making person aware of the work and the role, but this particular situation, which is so dynamic that every day it changes, we also make sure that the person is comfortable in doing and reaching out to the field immediately. And we do take care of in terms of providing necessary support and care to the person that we are deploying to. So this has been primarily, Anjali, what we've been doing in terms of ensuring onboarding of our people. But as I said, not at a large scale, but yeah, we do have placements in the field. So thank you for that.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much, Vijay. That's good to know that there's some hiring happening there. So I just quickly wanted to gently remind the audience that you may send your questions to the chat box, and we will try to answer as many as possible. And it would also be helpful if you could mention who do you want to put this question forward to. And moving forward with the set of questions that we have lined up for today is to Jyoti. So, Jyoti, ever since the lockdown started, I remember you and me, we've had discussions on working from home, the whole convenience or the inconvenience that it brings along with it. You know, sometimes uh, I also wonder that if I'm working from home or living at work, you know, there are these blurred lines of home and work. So I have two questions for you. The first part is how have you managed the expectations of people who are not very comfortable working from home? As Pooja mentioned, you know, there could be infrastructure issue or too many people around, or as Dr. Rajiv said, too many distractions around. So how did you manage those expectations of people? And the second question to this is, how are you measuring the performance and effectiveness at a time like this where the conditions are not the same for everyone?
Right. Thank you, Anjali, for having me. So, you know, we all know that COVID-19 has forced organizations to work from home. Even the, you know, organizations that didn't have work from home as a policy are now forced to adapt to a policy of work from home. And work from home is the new normal, you know, and it is here to stay. We don't know for how long it is going to be here. So, and you rightly said there are two kind and two sets or two cohorts of people within organization, which is, and it has been in IDF also, a set of people who would like to work from home because they are able to take care of their personal needs, simultaneously also work. And there's another cohort of people who feel more stressed and more anxious because they think that they can work more efficiently when they are in the office, because at home there are more distractions. So I think what IDF has done and the good strategy to address and clear these blur lines, as you have said, is one that, you know, as first step, I think as an organization, we have to really acknowledge the context that we are working in. Realize that all of us are, because we are not co-located at one place, there will be an impact on the efficiency, right? So which would mean that as an organization, you have to ensure a balance between the comfort that you want to offer to your staff members, as well as, you know, how do you ensure discipline, and so that there is a rhythm of work that is maintained when you're working remotely. So in terms of performance, I think it is important for supervisors, and also this is an important role for HR to ensure that, you know, the goals are reviewed. And when I say the goals are reviewed, it doesn't mean that you go back and look at the goals, but it means that you break the goals into simpler tasks that can be completed with considering the context that you are in, which are COVID times. Look at the processes that will aid you to achieve those tasks, you know, and having open lines of communication with your supervisors is also very important. Ensure that the organization is listening to the people. It's also very important to you know, when I say rhythm of work, I say that, you know, there is a greater need for now organizations to come and come for regular meetings. You know, establish norms of communication. When we say come for regular meetings, as in, you know, have a weekly, you know, check or a connect with the teams. Have rules in terms of participating in a meeting. You know, what are softer things, like simple things like keeping your microphone on, not dominating conversations when you are on an online call. Not having side conversations, being online, like Rajiv has said, on a particular platform from 9 to 5, like we at IDF use Microsoft Teams as our, you know, as a tool for connecting. So 9 to 5 is our team. our time to join in if you're working from home. At the same time, what we'd offer to staff was that for attending to a personal exigency, in case you need to step out and you cannot be online at a particular time, you need not apply for leave. But yes, you need to ensure that you inform your supervisor and HR so that people are aware that you're not going to be around at a particular time, right? So I think it is very important to establish those rules, and I think HR tasks I think HR people have a difficult task at this time, because one, there are decisions to be made, and quick decisions to be made, considering, and the situation is also changing every day. So it is a tough call. You have to ensure there are sound systems that are available to make sure your teams are connected. Um, you have to ensure that the staff morale is also retained, as well as parallelly also your team is able to deliver what is expected out of them. So I think in terms of measuring efficiency and performance, organizations definitely need to empathize the current with people, and also acknowledge the current context that we are working in, and then establish rules around your operations, so that and also clear communication is also very, very important, so that people are able to give their best and deliver their best for their performance.
Right. That's very helpful, Jyoti. I'm sure a lot of us are going to implement this in our organization as well. And thank you so much for your thoughts. While we are talking about this whole work from home revolution, it has also put organization culture to test. So, Purnima, how have you managed to maintain work culture? And going forward, how do you see work culture and environment evolving?
Well, culture is the topic to discuss in this pandemics, I've realized. And culture is as important as a business strategy, because it either strengthens or undermines the organization. So the new workplace or the virtual culture creates a foundation for purposeful workplace design, resulting in a mix of spaces that help our people do their best work. It serves as a guiding post for assessing people's need and organizational goal by four culture type, and that's how we define it in Room to Read, which is collaborate, create, control, and compete. So, there is a larger openness in the organization now. There has been a shift in the culture. There is a larger openness towards collaborating, because that's the only way you can survive in this isolation when people are really working in isolation through work from home channels. Then to create those environment wherein those are more conducive environment for people. So even if you have a distraction, you have other conflicting priorities. We all know, for the initial days of lockdown, we all talked about work from home or work for home, wherein we were all wearing multiple hats, and there was this whole avatar of what we have always seen, women with 9 hands and 10 hands, and same goes for men also. So everyone men had to really contribute back at home. So as organization, I think the most important thing to sustain as a business strategy for us has been to make a shift in the culture, to be more open towards the need of the people, to be able to collaborate more, to create a conducive environment, to control not people, but to control the quality of the work that we are doing. And when we talk about compete is not to compete with each other, but to really see the kind of work that we are producing. Can we have compete with our own benchmarks that we created? So I would say there has been a larger shift uh, of the organization from production being key, wherein we are not really looking at just being productive, but to really look at that efficiently things are being managed without tagging times, without really asking people to log in 8 hours, just to make sure that they're able to do work. And there is a larger anxiety that plays a role here, because people are actually fearful of this time. This pandemic has really put in a lot of anxiety in people. So this is very, very critical at this hour for organizations to make sure that people are not feeling stressed. People are finding their organizations more supporting than ever. So that is the key, I would say. And you know the organizations who've made such shifts, who have evolved these environments, um, they are going to be, doing a great job, I would say. But yes, there has been more openness for the work from home scenario. As I earlier also said that as an organization, we were not so open to hire people in remote locations as well, and now we are so open. So I think all the new hirings within my team, I hired people, one sitting in Bombay, another one sitting in Jabalpur. So, it doesn't make a difference when I know I practically have to connect through virtual medium. So I would say there has been a more openness. Thank you.
Thank you, Purnima. Well, just introducing myself, I'm Michelle Disa from Third Sector Partners. Due to a technical glitch, Anjali will be right back, and I'm stepping in for a short while till she comes back. Well, thank you so much, Purnima, for your insights. And well, my next question is to you, Dr. Rajiv. Well, Purnima and you, both of you are now in operational roles, and now with at Rotary International, I would like to know from you, given your HR DNA, how have you managed to keep people's interest intact without sidelining programs and vice versa?
Thank you very much, Michelle, for asking this question, which is very close to my heart. The transition from HR to CEO role has neither been easy nor being simple for me, because when your responsibility shifts from one department to the entire organization, it completely changes your perspective. And however, during the last 5 years or so in the CEO role, I have realized that CEO is in the best position to implement HR solutions in the manner any head HR conceptualizes. Maybe it's a constraint for the head HR not to be able to implement, but when I assumed this role, I found that now I can do anything that I felt like for the benefit of the organization, obviously. And as you rightly mentioned, since the basic DNA is HR, so any action that I take will become people-centric, even though it is for programs, but then people are at the back of my mind. And it is absolutely a gratifying experience to be able to take employee-centric decisions that ultimately positively impact the organization and also the programs. If staff are happy, satisfied, and motivated, this will result in a happy organization, and staff will be positioned in their best to serve our external constituents or the beneficiaries. Strong work ethics, well-structured and robust HR policies always result in a progressive and innovative organization. To conclude my response, I would say, as an HR head, I used to consider myself as a strategic partner in business. And now in the operational role, it is an opportunity for me to directly implement what I had learned by maintaining due balance between HR priorities and program priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv, for those inputs. Well, my next question is to you, Pooja. In fact, I have two questions for you here. We would ideally like to know what were some of the programmatic challenges that the teams faced, and how have you helped the teams to build their capacity against these challenges? I would also like to know here what were some of the employee engagement activities that were conducted during this period?
Thank you, Michelle. And I think connections are a little unstable, so just let me know if I'm fading out at any point in
Sure.
time. Uh, so I think programmatically, all of us are very, very aware of the fact that the biggest challenge has been the fact that visit or travel to field areas, for the purpose of implementing programs or for the purpose of monitoring the programs has been a very, very big challenge during these last couple of months. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why we also hastened our, development of digital tools to ensure that, what you cannot do face to face could be done through digital media. And I'm sure, many of my colleagues have faced similar challenges because network connectivities and other things, of course, are, some of the biggest hindrances there. And rural areas are sometimes not well connected. Not all communities could be, tech savvy or, be able to really come online for interactions over the digital media. So a number of challenges that the program teams were facing during these past months. But I think the biggest learning has been that all of us have that very, very strong inbuilt resilience, and that really shines through when you look at the way people find out new ways of doing things or connecting. How if there are certain people that you needed to connect in the field, and if they did not have phones, so you would co-locate and find out their neighbors' phone numbers and speak to them. So there have been various innovative ways of connecting, through the various means in the program areas. But what also came out was that these are also people who are the most vulnerable in terms of the stress levels, in terms of mental well-being, the depression, the whole situation. Because see, a lot of them live in very cramped spaces. A lot of them are, they do not have any way of finding out what's happening around them and what is causing so much of disruption. So how do you make sure that that messaging goes across? And I think tools like awareness SMSs and other things were something that we tried to make sure that people were in the know what's happening, how are we dealing with situations. And the biggest thing, that the second part of your question, talking about engagement, I think engagement has been something that we really pride ourselves on at Plan, because I think the culture is so strong about all of us being part of one family. We wanted to retain that flavor. We wanted to retain that closeness with each other. So what we did was continuous, virtual sessions with people, ensuring the town halls were very, very open, so people were able to have really good connect sessions. So even programmatic challenges. And in fact, our board members also did connect sessions with people in the field, so our communities and, our people who we were reaching out to, we were able to get them to speak about challenges that they had and how we could support them to, overcome those challenges. In fact, just today, we had a partners meet, which was virtual, after 15 years or 20 years of being meeting the partners in face-to-face manner. Today was the first time we met partners all over India, which was like, over 150 people on virtual platform like this. So I think programmatically and with staff members, there have been many steps taken to bridge the gap. And I think these are some of the biggest learnings also for many of us during these times. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Definitely, Pooja, some very good insights there, where technology has played a very key role here in ensuring that you all have been able to work with the programmatic challenges that you all are facing. I see that Anjali has joined us back. So over to you, Anjali.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Talking about technological challenges, we had right one in middle of the webinar. There was a power cut at our place, but moving forward, let's talk to Vijay. Vijay, we know you've been in the development sector for over 2 decades now, and we all have taken that conscious decision of being in the development sector. And as you rightly once said, that we need to lead by example. So, what, according to you, has been the role of leadership in ensuring that the organization presence is felt even during the pandemic?
So true, Anjali. So true. So, but this is we've faced so many disasters in the past, and I think there are so many of our people who have really committed and given a lot of their time and energy, and many of their years to working for communities and during difficult times and disasters that's been happening all across the world. This has been very unprecedented, and frankly telling you, I think many of us, and in fact all of us, at the initial stages when this whole we heard about the lockdowns, I think there has been a lot of concern, anxiety, as my co-panelists have been saying, and that made it somewhat as if everything has collapsed. Yeah. And that's where I think as development as development sector workers, and as the sector that we are in, I think it became more prominent to even think about, if this is what we are feeling, this is how we are feeling, what will be the state of all our people who have been working for so many years, and particularly they are elderly, there are women, there are children, and for Child Fund we work with large number of children in the field. So it's been really unprecedented, and the situation has been so dynamic that every time you felt of doing something, the next minute that the situation has worsened in most of the places. And I think that has given us also a huge learning in terms of how, as an organization, we stand with the people that we work with. So we been able to manage and continue a lot of our field programming, obviously with all the cautions and care that we had to keep. And our large number of our field partners, local partners, and our field level staff, and the community level workers, they have been our huge strength in terms of reaching out and continue to reach out to the communities. I think it also comes down to not only in terms of the front end, and I think that's where I've also been saying that how do our leaders lead us from the front. So it's not simply that I expect my field team to be and the partners to be in the field, whereas I'm scared and I cannot step out. I think that's where it's been that our leaders have been in the forefront and leading the efforts from the front, whether it is generating the resources, collecting those resources, making sure that the office operations, to at least to the minimal within the guidelines that we've had, are running with whatever documentation we needed from the authorities. We did that, but we kept our operations running so far, and that gave I feel that gives huge strength to our field level people, but also to the communities that who depend on many of the resources that we reach out to with them. As I said, because the situation has been such, the major concern also has been to care for the caregivers, and I think that's been a focus that everywhere we have to keep. Obviously, I cannot force my team somewhere to be in the field where the situation itself it's so critical. So we made sure that we are following the local guidelines issued by the authorities, but we also had our own set of safety, security parameters and guidelines issued by within the organization, making sure that we had those tools and equipments available to our teams, while even distributing the relief in the field. So I do feel, and I that has given, Anjali, to us a lot of strength, frankly telling you, during this time. And we actually can tell you very firmly that we kept our operations running so far, and I'm really keeping fingers crossed that we continue to reach out to our people and we don't leave them to struggle. Though all of us are struggling, but then we continue to struggle together.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Vijay, for those insights. And of course, we all are struggling. And at this time and age, it's very important to get that emotional support, or have the EQ, emotional quotient, as we call it. So, Jyoti, how have you managed the stress and anxiety of the teams? Of course, along with your own.
So, like I said, COVID-19 is for real and it is here to stay. And I think working in development sector, I would agree with what Vijay was saying, that it becomes one of our responsibility also. And we're actually in a catch-22 situation when you're especially working in health sector, that you are worried about your employee safety. At the same time, you would also want to be in the field and be able to deliver. Being an NGO, you have a responsibility on your head to support the work and look after and take your mission forward. So how do you do that? And in terms of there are real challenges of fear of contracting the virus, inability of employees to work from home and maintain that balance between running home errands and also doing your work side by side. There is family pressure. People who are willing to go to office, their families are not comfortable. There are personal needs. We all know when COVID happened, domestic helps are not available. Women especially had to do a lot of work at home, including myself. Then there were staff who had parents or family members with health conditions. So though they would want to come to the office or go to work, but they would not want to bring back the disease with them at home. So the challenges were plenty. So what we've done, actually, a couple of steps that we've taken at IDF, first and foremost, was that because we are a health-based organization and have the benefit of having doctors on board with us, our health system teams, they did a small training and a webinar with the entire organization, explaining them about the virus and what are the precautionary measures that one can take in terms of to avoid the virus, and in case you contract, what all steps can be taken. Besides this, we had suspended travel immediately as soon as COVID was declared for some time in the field. And we've also been sensitive to the staff and their needs, and we've looked at gradual and phased resuming of our office operations, which would mean that back in June we started opening on rotational basis, and we allowed a lot of flexibility to staff, that in case they have a condition at home, they have a personal need, or in case their parents, family members have a comorbidity, in case public transports are not available, borders are closed, or in case even people who would come by a metro train, is when the transport system actually opened, taxis opened, for me to come to the office, and the expense of traveling in a metro versus traveling in a car is too much. So we offered those flexibilities to staff, that in case these are the conditions, then supervisor can approve people to work from home. So mentally, I was a lot relaxed if I was a staff. We also looked at giving some form of a token money just when the COVID-19 had started, as a gesture to staff, to tell them that we are here, and and to meet your small exigencies in case you need. A small token of money was given because we had some savings. We also, to our field teams, because our field teams are the ones who actually go to the primary health centers and the PHCs and CHCs in the field, and they are the most vulnerable to catch an infection. So we offered them protective reimbursement for protective gears, and also we considered that now online consultations. We also offer a sort of a medical reimbursements to our staff members, and we realized that this time online medical consultations were preferred. So we amended our policies to ensure, we are able to reimburse for medical online consultations. So taking small steps one at a time, to trying to adapt to this change, and taking care of the employees is also very important, because it's important to have a workforce which is, mentally, anyway, I think times are trying times, and it is important to keep the morals of your team up. As far as my own personal morale, I think I myself follow a very fixed routine. I like to get up early. I do personal, I do a morning workout, trying to find some time for this, and I eat healthy. Those are some things that I try and maintain, and it's important, I think, for all my HR colleagues here would agree that HR people definitely need to ensure that they are mentally, stable and happy, and only if they are able to generate those vibes, they'll be able to pass those on to their teams. So those are small certain things that IDF has done at their level to ensure, staff are less anxious and less stressful.
Great. Thank you so much, Jyoti, for those interesting inputs. I'm sure friends in the audience along with me would implement it in our lives as well. Well, this brings me to my last question for the panel members. And since we're pressing for time, I would like the panelists to let me know the top 2 key learnings and your preparedness in the times of future adversities. God forbid, but something like this happens again. How well are you prepared for it? So why don't we start with you, Purnima?
So I guess we're prepared more than ever, I would say. The biggest learning is to invest in people, and I would just stop here for others to contribute. Jyoti, would you like to add to it?
Yeah, so I think I would agree with what Purnima has said. In addition, I think trust is something which is very important in these times. I personally feel that financial losses can be made up. But in case, people of your organization lose faith in you, or, lose the trust in the organization, that will be a bigger blow to the organization. I also feel COVID has forced all of us to look at, technology and embrace technology. When I say embrace, it doesn't mean that what is latest that is available, but in my mind, using technology efficiently in a way, using things that are more useful to you and planning ahead. Just to share also that, even before the COVID times at IDF, we were thinking of looking at our operational cost and reducing it. And we were anyways thinking of, a rotational work from home sort of a model, discussing that with our management. It's just that COVID-19 has now given us an opportunity to test and try our, idea that actually was in our minds. So trust, I think, is the key here. And I also feel exploring technology is important.
Okay, I'd like to come in here. To me, I think, of course, what my co-panelists just said, both of these are extremely important. Trust is extremely important. And I think one more very, very critical factor here is that, when you are in times like these, when these are crises,
well, Pooja, I think you're not very audible.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I was saying that, in times like these, I think the true mettle of a leader or leadership, of people really, gets reflected. So I think, this is the time when all of us as leaders of the organization need to be there for the people. I think the compassion, the humility, the acceptance of situations which are different from ours, I think that's going to be one very, very big learning, and ensuring that, you know, all of these are built into our business continuity plans. Our resilience will grow with time, you know. So that's something that is a takeaway for me. Thank you.
Vijay, you would like to go next?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Well, so I do think, and there is a lot that we've learned from this, and as I said, this will end very, very soon, and it's not going to be very far. So keeping that in mind, I feel agility is the word, you know, because I think having, and we've talked a lot about having agile organizations, and I think it has really proved this time, you know, how much flexibility, how much prepared are we in terms of, you know, having even the, you know, workforce as liquid workforce, you know, maneuvering roles, you know, seeing where do we fit people where we need it at the time of crisis. And I think that's the preparedness that we have to have on a regular basis. That's one I think I feel, and I really feel very strongly for. I do think that, and as I agree with my earlier panelist, is people are our, you know, people are very critical resource, you know, and they are our strength. Keep them motivated, care for them, you know, invest on them psychologically, physically, whatever investment we have to make, let's make that on our people. And that's going to be that is going to sustain us in the long term. You know, we've talked a lot about digitalization and what we need in terms of technology. I do think that's need of the hour, and I think that has anyway forced all of us. There was no choice that we've had during this time, and 5 months we are all in it, and there is nothing that we see without technology now, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever we want to say it. But it also has given a lot of good space to us. But I do think, and as my earlier panelist says, compassion. So I do think without compromising on human resource, and being human, whether it is today or tomorrow, will be critical for all of us, whatever technology may come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rajiv, over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. In terms of top 2 learnings, I would say the first one is that a paradigm change in our thinking. That, you know, initially we thought that, you know, in our kind of environment, the kind of work we do, we can never work from home. We have been, you know, our senior management team has been resisting the policy of work from home, and now we have seen with our own eyes that we can be as efficient offsite as we are on site. It's not just working from home alone. We could work from anywhere. This is the kind of learning we have now. And in addition, you know, occasional work from home also gives an opportunity to the people, to the employees, to, you know, have some additional benefits like, you know, improved health, better flexibility, you know, and also be close to the family members while you are serving the organization. So we are very clear that when we go back to the office, we are going to introduce occasional work from home policy, which we resisted so far. So this is one paradigm change. And the second learning was that we talk of out of the box thinking and innovation. And this pandemic has proved that the best of it comes out during disaster times. There were so many things we were facing in the office, and we never thought of a out of the box solution. But when we are forced to work from home, we had no option. Just to give you 2 examples. One was that, you know, we have a system wherein we have one bank branch which is located in Delhi. Anyone who has to make payments, I mean, by anyone, I mean our constituents, the Rotarians, they have to make payments for various reasons in terms of contributions, or it could be in terms of club charter fees and, you know, club dues and things like that. So there was only one channel available that, you know, you send your checks to our office and we will have it deposited in the bank. But now where is the opportunity? The office is closed. I can't receive checks. So this, you know, sort of forced us to look at other options, and we found out that our bank, the official banker, has branches all over the country. So why can't the Rotarians go and deposit their checks right on those branches? So we started off something which is known as the direct deposit scheme in different locations, which we could never think of earlier or try of. And the second one was we have, you know, Tally as one of the softwares used in finance for the time being. And Tally has a server which was sitting in the office. We never thought that we could take the server out and, you know, outsource it to an external agency. We had to do that, and now we find that, you know, it is much smoother. by outsourcing this tally server, now people from anywhere sitting at home, they can just access and they can work. So finance team also, which initially we thought they can never work from home, they are all working from home and very efficiently. They never had to step out of their home to do the complete closing of accounts, which happened just 2 days back. So this was the second learning. And in terms of how we will be able to do better in case of disasters, I would say that this was a live example where we had implemented our disaster management plans, really seen in action. And we have much better insights now in handling disasters and be able to quickly set up an office offsite. God forbid if something happens and we have to close the office, I can say that we close the office here and then from next morning we are operational. The people, our constituents will not even know that the office is closed. This is the kind of learning we have. Thank you.
So Delhi rains and power cuts is making me go on and off. But do we have opinions from everyone on this question? Great, great. So now time to move on to the audience questions. In fact, we have plenty of them coming up. We might not be able to take all of them, but we'll try as much as possible. So the first question is for you, Jyoti, from the audience. They would like to know, what psychological support is your organization providing to the employees?
So in terms of, we have not outsourced any training for psychological support. But then I think the fact, the availability of HR team within the organization is important, and that's what we've tried to do. Having the connect of the leadership team with the staff in terms of listening to their needs. Every time we have looked at resuming operations or changing things within the organization because of COVID-19, be it our program deliverables, there has been a consultative decision. So it's not decisions that have been taken ad hocly. And IDF as culturally, IDF comes across as a strong organization because we always would like to listen to what people are saying and then decide that what would be the action moving forward. So even for a simple thing of resuming operations, opening offices, it is important that we listen. I myself personally stay in touch with my teams, not just in Delhi, but even across the different geographies that we work in. Having access to senior management, a person who is in the field, is not feeling comfortable reaching out, can just straight away pick up the phone and speak to the CEO. So that sort of arrangement is available within the organization, and people feel comfortable that there is somebody who would listen to them and will take care of their needs.
Right. Thank you so much, Jyoti, for the input. The next question is open to all, and someone from the audience would like to know how smaller organization can address people issue if they're not well funded. So since it's open to all, would someone like to take?
I would like to answer that. So I think the size would not really make a difference. It's the HR and the management who needs to think out of the box and be innovative. What is your priority? If your priority is people, you will be able to still make that connection. You'll be able to still make that engagement with people. So it's, and in our situation, when I said that our budgets were cut, we practically do not have any funds for learning and development and even for staff development at this point in time. And believe me, we are doing much more than what we were doing before with the funds, I would say. So it's just that one has to be open to be able to think out of the box, I would say. size would not make a difference, funding would not make a difference. So that's my take on it.
I also agree with what Purnima is saying. I think it is, less about spending money, but it is more about empathizing with the staff and, staying connected with them, telling them, giving them, showing them ways that, yes, we care and we are there for you. These could be as simple as, just picking up a phone and saying that, hey, how are you? And are you okay? It could be simple things like what Rajiv had shared, having, social calls, coming together just to have a cup of tea, which we've also done at IDF, because we were all working from home. So the feeling of missing out, FOMO, was existing with many staff members. So we just decided randomly every week, on every Monday, all of us would come together in the morning with a cup of tea and just gossip, not talk work, but just come and talk about, how things are, how family is, what are you doing, how are you spending your time. So, these small things make a lot of difference and help you at the back end think that, yes, you belong to this place. Yes, my organization is there for me in case they do realize that if there are crises, they are standing by me and they will support.
Sure, great. So the next question is addressed to Pooja. How are the international NGOs redefining needs in context of frontline workers? Any specific support which has been provided without impacting the program outcomes?
Thank you to the audience for this question. And I don't think it is a factor of whether it's an international NGO or a local NGO. I think all of us work in the development space and we are equally committed to ensure that, the people who we are looking at influencing or making a change in the lives of is, happening irrespective of how, the situation is externally. So, as far as the work at field level has been, I think it has been affected for almost all organizations, and we have initiated, like I mentioned, certain connects through digital media, and ensured that we are at least able to form a connect with our people. So that has been the way that we have ensured that communication happens. You're able to understand the issues or the challenges people are facing. At the same time, I think the factor is that, as an organization, we have been responding, in the field with the help of our partners. And each of these partners have been equipped with, the funds to be able to buy protective gear for people, to ensure, all the measures that are needed to keep people safe at the front line are being, adhered to. So I think those are things that, as leadership, we have ensured, and hopefully, and in fact, as a fact, we do not have a COVID case till now. So I think that is something that is a factor that we need to look at, in these times. So yeah, that's how we have managed it now.
Great. Thank you so much, Pooja, for that answer. Now we have very little time left and we can take two more questions. I'd request Dr. Rajiv and Vijay to answer this. So how have you managed disciplinary actions or proceedings or issues which were already pending from beforehand?
Let me take this first and then Vijay. So in our case, it's a very tricky issue which you just mentioned, that, suppose you have started a PIP and that is on while you go on this kind of work from home. What do you do with that? So I think this is the time when, as I mentioned in my address also, that we need to be a little more humane. So our priority is not to conclude the disciplinary action, but to get the job done. So disciplinary action, etc., unless it is such a grave thing that, you have to either get rid of the person or it is so grave that you can't allow that person to work. Otherwise, I would say have a little more patience and wait for this pandemic to be over. Don't conclude the case, but just keep it pending for some time. And it is very much possible that during this time, the employee may come up to the occasion and do something exemplary, which may, reduce the kind of accusation is there against him. Vijay, please. You are muted, Vijay.
Yeah, very well said, Rajiv. So I really have nothing more to add, but frankly, I think that's the point. So we are not in rush. The whole world is troubled, and there is no point in troubling anyone more at this moment. I think, yeah, so wherever, though fortunately for me, there are no legal cases that I'm currently handling in here. But where there was any particular case pending, I think that will be the strategy to keep it on hold, and let's wait. I'm sure, as I said, world will come back to the normal soon, so we will have normal processes soon.
Great. So there's one last interesting question that I would really like to ask everybody in the panel is, with layoffs happening, what would you advise with regards to maintaining the motivation of the rest of the team members? So this is open for the forum.
I think communication is the key here. Sorry, I'm just jumping in to say, wherein, it's important for the organization to be transparent and communicate to your team saying why the action one, if the layoff has happened, why the action has happened. Also, in order to look forward, share with the teams that what is the future going to be like, so that today if I am a staff, and of course I am going to be disturbed with seeing layoffs happening around me, but I would also need to know whether my future is secured in this organization or not. So if my management is able to clearly communicate that to me in time, taking quick decisions and letting me know in time that yes, this is how we are going to move forward and this is what the future of the organization would be, I'll be a content employee. So I think communication, being transparent, these are two key factors to keep the motivation levels up.
Anjali, I'd just like to add one more point to what Jyoti just mentioned, is that we need to also support people in this time. Layoff definitely should be just the very last option for an organization to take at this point, because of the situation around us. And in case if there could be other solutions of keeping people with half salary or any other methods that could be deployed. In case if it is eventually decided that it has to be done, then how do we ensure that we support them through this process by providing references of organizations which are still hiring, and supporting them with getting redeployed at another place. So I think those are some humanitarian gestures that organizations can definitely take up at this point to support staff, and also it goes in a long way for others in the team to feel secure and trust the organization. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Pooja, for letting us know that there is an alternative to layoffs as well. Great. So this brings us to the end of today's session. And I would like to thank our audience for being very patient and listening in. And we have heard from some outstanding thought leaders on how they have been managing and navigating through these tough times, and looking for what the new normal looks like in terms of talent and people processes. I would once again like to extend a big vote of thanks to all the panelists for shedding light on some of the pressing issues that we're facing. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next session with yet another exciting topic. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. Have a great weekend and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody at Third Sector.
Thank you.